You're listening
to the Beer O'Clock, the Beer O'Clock Show.
You're listening to the Beer O'Clock Show.
It's Beer O'Clock and this is the Beer O'Clock Show. My name is Mark and joining me is my beer buddy Steve. Hello Steve.
Hi Mark, how you doing?
I'm alright mate, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Very good. Also joining us, another in our listeners as guest season is a pair of lovely up here. It's Bob and Sarah Maxfield. Hello guys.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Thanks for joining us. So you have provided this week, and thanks very much for providing it, a 4.8% American wheat beer called Summer Smiles from the Fixed Wheel Brewery, and we'll be getting to that in just a little bit.
Yeah.
Before that, let's talk about what we had in the last week that's worth talking about beer-wise. So Sarah, let's start with you. Anything of interest?
I've had a bit of a disappointing week this week, to be honest. We ended up on a barge on Saturday with the bearded one and his lovely partner for her 30th, and all I had was Stella. So I basically just drunk Stella this weekend. And I have drunk nothing else other than that this week, so it's a little bit sad.
There's a couple of Twisted Barrel.
Yeah, so there was some Twisted Barrel,
night,
which was very nice at the end of the night and a lot more welcome than Stella. So looking on my Untapped, we had an epic weekend. It's a little bit out of the week, but an epic weekend the week before at Cotteridge Wine's 21st birthday, and had some amazing beers that were specialist for that particular event, which included Magic Rock Tropical Cannonball.
No, that's it. I'm done. I knew you were going to do that to me. God's sake.
I'm sorry.
I don't even. You know what? I hope it was shit.
No, it wasn't.
It really wasn't.
We also had an amazing beer by Cloudwater called Deep Breath, and it was like a stout aged in red wine barrels, and it was stunning.
It was amazing.
Oh, it was with Dipper V3 as well in it, and it was just
mixed
incredible.
In.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
And Mad Hatter's Figgy Bastard, that was really nice as well, which was like a fig stout.
Okay. Cool. How about you, Steve?
Well, compared to that, I just don't even.
You had Tropical Cannonball, did you?
No, I didn't have Tropical Cannonball.
But let's face it, all I've had this week is Stella. So
yeah,
I'm sure
I was going to say, I'm not. It's not going to be too difficult to top that. A couple of standouts. I had the Eternalist, which is a Galway Bay beer that Wayne sent over from Ireland. It's a sourdough with raspberries in it as well, and that was really tasty, really tart, as you imagine, really refreshing at the weekend. And I also had the latest incarnation of Brewdog's Born to Die, 1808-16, which was just it's becoming a bit of a standard thing with that now. They're big, they're hoppy, they're juicy, they've got a big bit of finish. Pretty good again. Apart from that, there are a few others thrown in there, but nothing really to shout about. What about yourself, mate? You have had quite the beery week, haven't you?
Well, I had a beery weekend, so I was out on Friday night for work drinks, and I managed to convince everyone to go to the Draft House at Old Street. None of them really being craft beer drinkers, but I'm the loudest, so I got them to go there. And I had some, apart from having my absolute limit of Pilsner Urquell, which was quite a lot, to be honest with you. There were also a few other standouts. There was a super sour user from Lervig, which was lovely and sour and light, as you would expect. I had Pogo from the Wild Beer Company, which again was lovely and fruity. I finished the night off after a shitload of beers with Saison Dupont, which was a good one. And then somehow I found myself back on the beer on Saturday and in the Old Fountain, and I had our mate Andy's from Elusive Brewing had his Level Up, which is an American red, and that was fucking gorgeous. So yeah, pretty beery for me. That makes up for the last 6 months.
Yeah, it's not very often that your beer drinking in the week is something that I sit back and I'm really jealous of. But because I've got to say I love the Draft House in Old Street. I think they've absolutely nailed what a nice modern bar can look like, with beer that's served really well and staff that are really knowledgeable and friendly as well.
Yeah.
And I just love going in that place. When I saw that you were going there, I literally almost dropped everything and came and gate crashed the party because any excuse to get there at the moment, and I'm looking for it.
Makes a big difference when the staff know what they're talking about, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
And just being friendly and chatty. Well, it's not something that I get a lot of in London. I said on Twitter, because I was really impressed with the Shuffle Dog leads.
Yeah.
I really love, really friendly staff, great space, and that Draft House at Old Street for me was like a London version of Shuffle Dog, but without the train trip.
I keep on putting kind of tweets and things like that to Brewdog when they kind of put tweets out about where they should go next that Birmingham could really do with a Shuffle Dog.
Yeah? Do you have a Brewdog in Birmingham at all?
We have a Brewdog. But I want a Shuffle Dog just because I really enjoy playing shuffleboard.
Yeah, it's just great to get into a bar that actually has space, has great staff, and good selection of beer, and I don't know, just all comes together in that combination. It's really good. We've got too many craft beer bars in London that are all about the beer but lose the customer service aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. I think
There's a lot of staff that just don't care.
Yeah. Right, anyway, enough of that. You got any news for us, Stevie?
Yeah, that shit ton of news this week, mate. So hold on for all this. I'm going to try and rattle through it as quickly as possible. So first up, as I mentioned in my beer reviews, the latest incarnation of Born to Die is out from Brewdog. The only reason I mention it is because they've done a gimmick for once that is actually a pretty decent gimmick, and I can't knock them for it. With every bottle of the beer that you buy in one of the bars, they're giving away a donor card. Encouraging you to sign up to donate your organs should you pass. And it's all branded. The donor cards are all branded up in Brewdog colours and Born to Die colours. So you know what? Good on Brewdog for that one. I think that's a great little gimmick that they've done there for once. Next up, some news about Indie Man. Over the past few weeks, they've announced all of the breweries that are going to be hosting the various rooms and locations, and it's quite a list this year. So the Food Village, which is the outside area at Indie Man, for those that know it, will be hosted by the Wild Beer Co. Room 1, which I believe is the room at the far end as you walk in, is going to be hosted by Beavertown. Room 2, which is the one in the middle and it's the biggest room, is going to be hosted by Cloudwater. I'm guessing no surprise there, as they are very much still the brewery at the moment and they're based in Manchester. Room 3, which is the dark one that's down in the pool, is going to be hosted by Northern Monks. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that space. Also hosting other rooms, you've got 4 Pure from London, Siren Craft Brew, and Red Church from London as well. So it's quite a mix of breweries there hosting the rooms Indie Man this year. And there'll be news coming out over the next couple of months in terms of which beers are going to be available, which breweries, and all that sort of stuff. Some new beer news. Magic Rock released Shredder, which is a smashable wheat beer. Collaboration with Orange Bikes this past week. Basically, as they say, it's a wheat beer with using orange in it. So really citrusy, really zesty, and smashable, apparently. If anyone knows what that means, I'd love them to tweet me and let me know. And then finally, again, more, well, it's not new beer news, but it's beer in a new package news. Harvestoon sneaked out a little picture today of cans of Schiehallion, which I got a little bit excited about, and commented on it, and they said, yeah, we've also got Bitter and Twisted coming in cans, and also Old Engine Oil. So looks like Harvestoon are now embracing the canning revolution. And that's it for this week's news. I'm guessing it's time to get into the beer, maybe.
Yeah, so let's get into this week's beer. It is Summer Smiles from Fixed Wheel Brewery, an American wheat beer, 4.8%, and it is absolutely baking today, so I'm hoping this is going to be nice and refreshing.
Whenever we've had it, it's been really lovely and refreshing and light. It's kind of like a wheat beer IPA almost.
All right, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Yeah, too keen. Oh,
Right.
It's got a lovely aroma on it.
It does.
It's kind of like lemony,
Yeah.
biscuity. There's quite a lot of citrus coming off of it as well. So I can understand what Bob's saying there about it. It kind of, just from the aroma, it smells like an IPA.
Yeah.
Quite light on the aroma though.
Yeah, yeah.
Not overpowering.
Beautiful looking beer. Nice big frothy head on mine.
Nice and active.
Yeah,
Right, let's get into this.
looking good.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
Thank you very
guys.
much.
Cheers.
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 What was that thing you were saying earlier about crushable?
Smashable.
Smashable.
Yeah. I'm guessing what it means is on a day like today you can just guzzle at it, because I've just drained half of my glass in one go. So I'll take back my earlier comment. If people don't tweet in what Smashable is, we've just worked it out.
It's a nice short show for the thing.
Yeah.
That is really nice. Nice biscuity bitterness on the back as well.
Yeah.
So what made you choose this particular beer, guys?
Couple of reasons, really. I know one of the things that I kind of do in my spare time is run a blog, Midlands Beer Blog Collective. Kind of a group of friends getting together and writing about the Birmingham scene. And they're one of my favourite local breweries. And Scott, who's the owner and brewer at Fixed Wheel, is just a really fantastic guy. So when I knew you guys invited us on, I contacted them and said, look, we really want to have one of your beers, because I don't think he really makes that a bad beer. He's a fantastic brewer. And said, what are you going to have ready? And he said we should have Summer Smiles ready by the time that you're due to come on. And it just sounded perfect. And it's worked out perfectly with this weather.
Let's just hope the weather holds for when this is released. I bet it doesn't. I bet it's pissing it down.
Well, probably.
But as we record this today, it's a burning hot day, and literally this beer is perfect for a day like today.
It couldn't be a better beer, actually.
I've often not been a massive fan of wheat beers, but have kind of warmed to them. But I think that kind of bitterness, like that biscuity bitterness that you mentioned, and also kind of that kind of hop, kind of fruitiness. I'm not as good at picking out the actual particular flavours and stuff like that. Maybe because I'm a picky eater, so I just probably haven't eaten most of the things that stuff tastes like.
Same.
Yeah, sounds really familiar, that.
I've never eaten a grapefruit, so I don't know what grapefruity taste is.
Yeah, you kind of guess, don't you?
That's it.
It tastes like beer.
That's it.
So, scrolling through Untapped, what are other people saying? Okay, grapefruit, I have that.
Yeah, that's
mango.
It's not terribly wheaty, this one. I think
No.
as a wheat beer, I'm guessing, that kind of helps lighten the load a little bit. If it was a straight IPA, you'd probably get more of a malt bill in there.
Yeah.
Along with the bitterness, but it is quite a nice, light, zesty beer.
Yeah, the wheat does kind of lighten it and make it kind of. Because sometimes some IPAs I've had can be quite harsh with the bitterness, and but this is kind of that wheaty lightness, whatever that means.
With a wheat beer, you're kind of looking for that mid-palate lightness, aren't you? You want not wanting something that's too heavy, and the bitterness, which with those IPA characteristics, really gives this a nice little different character.
Definitely.
I discovered recently that, because I'm not the biggest fan of wheat beers, and because of that fact, I was avoiding trying Magic Rock's vinification. And it was only when I was in Little Leeds Beer House chatting to Rich in there, and he was like, "No, you need to try it. It's an American wheat beer, so it's not." He said it's going to be more hoppy, and I've discovered that recently, that if something's an American wheat beer, I actually love it, because it's not that sort of like wheaty, florally sort of character that you get with the European wheat beers. It's that
yeast,
hoppy,
isn't it?
it's citrusy, and it's lovely, and as you say, it's just so much lighter as well.
Yeah.
Vinification's a great
I'm
beer.
not a big fan of wheat beers either, to be honest with you. We had this first time last summer at Brewdog. Scott did a tap takeover at our local Brewdog, and I had it on keg there, and then a couple of days later I had it on cask over the road. and it was just phenomenal both ways. And I was like, actually, when he said he was just brewing this beer in time for the show, I was like, yeah, it's just got to be that beer, because I just think it's the right balance of everything, really.
I feel that I need to just clarify. There's a bar over the road from Cherry Reds. It's not that she just got the beer and carried it over the road or anything.
Over to the graveyard.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about Fixed Wheel?
So, as I said, Scott is the head brewer there. He absolutely loves cycling, and I've recently found out that he actually holds the national record for fixed wheel cycling time trial at 50 and 100 miles. He originally brewed kind of part-time for a brewery up in Birmingham, or near kind of greater Birmingham area, called Green Duck. And while he was doing that, he was also setting up his own brewery with his partner Sharon. And now they're based in Blackheath.
Yeah.
Small industrial unit that they've got there. Brews from there. There's a really good balance of cask and keg that make its way around the local area. He's won awards at a lot of the local beer festivals, including a camera. He was at a kegged beer at a camera festival, which was quite impressive.
Brilliant. Love that. The irony in that statement alone.
We've actually had two. There's another brewery, a local brewery called Sakurai Brew, and they also won at a different beer festival, a kegged beer. They won the beer at the festival, so maybe it's just those particular areas, Stourbridge and Wolverhampton. I don't know.
I was going to say, what's wrong with Midlands Camera? Are they just trying to break away and form their own movement that embrace keg beer?
It might be. You never know. But I mean, Scott is fantastic. He gets the real good balance, especially in the Midlands. It's still quite kind of cask heavy, and which isn't an entirely bad thing. But the places that I think serve it well is not massive. But he gets the balance between the good cask and good keg beers. All of those kind of make their way out locally, and make some really fantastic beers from. It was a saison Popa Dope.
Yes.
That looked like Cherryade when you poured it, but again tasted fantastic. And then a personal favourite that we had at last year's beer bash, and we were lucky to serve it because we were volunteering there, which he did in collaboration with a brewery called Angel Ales, and that was a 15% triple IPA called Cyclone, which I think we also had on cask, and it had got to about 17%, you thought?
Yeah. It was incredible.
Get in my face.
It was absolutely amazing, and I've asked him a few times when he's going to brew it. He might be doing it as a winter barley wine this year, so I look forward to that.
It was certainly a warming beer.
It was.
Now, you mentioned your Midlands beer blog. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So, as most stories start, it started around a table with beers in a bar, and a group of us are kind of, as you like, sitting around talking about beer and talking about what we were drinking, and all thought we'd really like the idea of starting a blog, but none of us really felt we had the time to do it properly and give it justice.
Yeah.
Kind of my job at the time, a lot of the work that I do is around teamwork and things like that. The idea came to me, well, why don't I do it collaboratively with a group of us? So I put that to the other guys. They were keen to get involved. And the Midlands Beer Blog Collective was born. It sounds, after I named it, I thought that sounds a little bit pretentious, but, it works. It works. So it's mainly myself and a friend called Dave Hopkins. We mainly run it, but we also kind of have an open door for people that want to write. So we've got a couple of people that have written 1 or 2 blogs, a couple of people that write on a regular basis with us. The main focus is on the Midlands beer scene, and because we're in Birmingham, a lot about Birmingham, so we do try and interview kind of breweries, drinking venues like bars and pubs, and individuals. And just try and promote and celebrate what we have got here in the Midlands, and hopefully get a bit more in Birmingham. Birmingham's often seen, I think, as it's supposed to be the second city, but then like we know how amazing Leeds is, and Manchester is just absolutely fantastic. And I think selfishly, I'd like more places in Birmingham similar that we can go out and drink in. So I suppose the blog is our attempt to do something like that, kind of spread the word a bit.
So what is the beer scene in Birmingham like?
It's not great. There's a couple of really fantastic places, and there's some more places that are opening. As far as venues to drink, there's a really cool place called Tilt, which if you like pinball, there's like about 15 pinball machines, do brilliant coffee and teas during the daytime, but have some fantastic beers on tap. We've got Brewdog, Cherry Reds, and an absolutely brilliant pub called Craven Arms that do just stunning kind of cask and keg beers. By far the best place I've ever had that cares for their cask in such a fantastic way. And I think the main problem, though, I think especially with Birmingham, is the lack of brewers. So within the centre, there's one or two, but unlike Manchester and Leeds, where you've got your Northern Monk in Leeds and a couple of other breweries, and you've got in Manchester, Cloudwater and those guys kind of towards the centre of Manchester. There's not the brewers in Birmingham. Guys like Fixed Wheel, they're out at Stout, they're out at kind of Blackheath, which is out on the distance. There's Sacre Brew there in Wolverhampton. Twisted Barrel, again, probably one of the other fantastic brewers locally. They're in Coventry, so they're not in Birmingham. So I think it is just the issue with brew. I think we'd like some more breweries here in Birmingham, kind of selling their wares. And I mean, what do you think?
It's getting there. It is slowly getting there, but I think even on the bar front, we're lagging behind places like London, Manchester, and Leeds. It's got a decent scene, but it's like I was perfectly happy with Birmingham until I went up to Leeds for the first time, and then I.
Just 5 bars near the train station. It was like, we haven't even got within 100 yards of the train station and we're already...
I basically just didn't really want to come home from Leeds.
Yeah.
Nor did I.
I keep thinking about moving there just for beer. Birmingham's good and it is getting better, but it's just taking time. And I think that's the thing that it just feels like it should be a lot further ahead than it is, given we are supposed to be the second city. But yeah, we are lucky to have what we've got. We've got
the beer bash.
We've got the beer bash. We've got a couple of fantastic food and beer venues that have just kind of turned up in the last 6 to 8 months. So we've got an amazing burger place that's teamed up with Siren called Original Patty Men. The burgers are full-on dirty burgers, but so damn good.
Have I ever told you about Big Vern's Crispy Ring?
I think possibly something for a different podcast.
Yeah, maybe. So Original Patty Men do a burger, and I mean the patties that they do are amazing. But it's a Krispy Kreme donut cut in half and toasted, and then the meat with caramelised bacon is in the middle. So that's a Big Vern's Crispy Ring, which is quite amazing. But they teamed up with Siren. I know when they opened, they actually had a donut beer as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
Wow. They'd just thrown a ton of Krispy Kreme donuts in the beer, and it was amazing. It was really good. So we've got some good places, but we need more.
Okay. How's everyone's beer going? Because mine's gone.
Mine's gone. Mine was gone a long time ago.
We've got another one that one of the ones that we were going to send you. So we're going to have. That.
Oh, good. You enjoy that then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. And why don't you reminisce about Tropical Cannonball while you're at it as well, just to really rub my face in it.
Yeah. I almost missed out on it, but I didn't.
No, I don't want to know. Seriously, it's not relevant.
Well, since Steve is now in somewhat of a ranty mood, let's go on to opinions.
Oh, really? Yeah. So this week was an interesting one. It's been something that keeps coming up every now and again on Twitter. And I thought it was time that we waded in with our opinions. So this week I asked the question, should beer writers bloggers, vloggers, podcasters disclose free beer or kickbacks with the options of every time, use their discretion, or what's it to do with you. We had 230 votes and 78% of the people voting were in favour of every time, it's quite interesting. And there were a fuck ton of comments this week, and you know, people getting into full-on discussions about this, and I'm kind of sitting there thinking, this isn't what I've got to moderate all this and work out which ones I'm going to read out on the show, sort of thing. So here are the ones that I decided to come up with, some of the more pertinent views that came out of this week's discussion. Nate Southwood, so at NateDog27, our first ever guest, mate, on the Beer O'Clock show, had a comment this week. 100%. I always have, because I think it's fair to my readers. Besides, other bloggers know when I'm drinking a freebie, as they would have gotten the same, which is quite a good comment to make. Matt Curtis at Total Curtis, just one of his comments I tried to single out as being the most important here. Matt had quite a lot to say about this, and to be fair, Matt's quite passionate about this subject. So this is a combination of two tweets, and it probably doesn't do how he feels about this any justice. It's something that no one really teaches. You kind of have to learn. ASA guidelines are now clear and apply to bloggers. I, for one, would like to see all bloggers have a standard disclaimer on their sites, like mine on my About page. We'll come back to my views on the second part of that comment a bit later. Fall to the Brum, at Fall to the Brum. Is this someone that you guys know?
Yeah, she's a local food blogger, has been really supportive and helpful with us, and as she's been helping us with the blog, we've been introducing her to beer. Okay, well, she got involved this week. Maybe she knew you guys were going to be on, I don't know. But she said, I'd say so, but I also think the kickbacks traditional media get ought to be disclosed too, which is good comment. Miles Lambert, at Miles Lambert, openness and honesty should be paramount in all walks of life. It gives the viewer, reader, listener the fair picture. Also, free or not, a reviewer owes it to his or her reputation to be thorough and honest in feedback, otherwise it's pointless. And that was a view that was very much also agreed with by a number of other people as well. So at the Mighty Jag and at Salander Graham also agreed with that point of view. Very similar comments from those guys. Liquor Junkie, at Liquor Junkie, we always disclose if we've been given free booze, but it wouldn't affect our opinion. And again, a lot of people saying the same sort of thing. So Wayne from the Irish Beer Snob, Sarah from Irish Finny, and Rachel from Look at Brew, all saying that they're disclosed, but it doesn't, regardless whether it's free or not, it doesn't affect their opinion. And then this last one was quite an interesting one. Clayton Chisholm at Clayfish. As a non-blogging reader listener, it's important for me to know if you get something free for the same reason that I watch TV on catch up. I want to skip the ads. So, yeah. and I think that's a great comment. You know, are we just being given beer to advertise, or are we actually reviewing it? So that's what Twitter thought. Before I get on, and there's one other as well, and I want to read this one out. This one was sent to me as a DM, so I'm not going to share the person's name because I think it's unfair, because they obviously DM'd for a reason, but they'll know who they are. And the point was, there are differences between A, being paid to review, B, sponsored shows or posts, C, receiving free samples, and D, none of the above. I would say most posts, shows and reviews are clear by implication. And I thought that was a really interesting point. So, I'm going to open it up to our guests. Bob, Sarah, do you have any views on this week's opinions? I think I put something on earlier. I think.
I can only choose a handful, mate.
I know.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And you were going to be on as well.
Yeah. I did think as I was doing it, this is a bit greedy now, Bob. Calm down. But I think what Clayton said is really important about kind of whether it's an advertisement or not. It's something that we've kind of struggled with recently, kind of as we've started to kind of get a bit of a following, get a bit of an interest locally. We've started having people approach us, but I think very much along the lines of what a couple of other people said was that if we are going to say yes when people offer us something, we're going to be honest about what we feel about it. And if we do talk about it, it's because we feel it's what our listeners would want, readers would want to read about. But we would always put with full disclosure on there as to whether we'd received something free or not. For sure. I think my comment was about having integrity in what you're doing. So, like Peyton said, I want with the blogs that I do, I want people to take it at face value and trust that what we're saying is right. And if we're going to be throwing in amongst that sponsored content, so to speak, then it could really damage our kind of integrity when we actually have something, really important to say, or people won't believe us when we talk honestly about the kind of local breweries or local venues.
Yeah, good points, all of them, and like I say, very much agreeing with some of the comments that have been made. Sarah, anything to add to that?
Very similar, really. I think it is important. I think I voted for full disclosure always, because I think it's important to do that, and I think it's important that readers know that it has been free if you've been given it for free. I just think that if I was in that position, I don't just want to read some trite just because somebody's been given it for free about how good it is, and then go and buy it and it be completely shit. So I kind of want to, if I'm putting myself in the other side of that, I'm going, actually, no, I want to write the right thing. It doesn't make it any easier, personally, when I've written a couple of blogs for the beer blog, and I find it really hard to be constructive and negative at times. But I think it's really important to do that, because I think it's important to be honest about the beer scene and what we're given. And if people are just giving freebies for the sake of a good review, then, to be honest, I'd rather not have them.
Yeah. Great points. And again, that honesty, integrity seems to be the thing that's coming through again and again. Mark, any views on this one, mate?
Well, I could basically echo what everyone else has said, really. I mean, Steve, you and I have been fortunate enough to basically, for the last 3 years at least, be sent beer constantly from breweries wanting to get it reviewed, or just for us to try it ourselves without necessarily having it on the show. We tell people when we get free beer from breweries, because we normally thank the breweries, don't we? Yeah. We
always make a point of saying it in the show that we've got this beer from the brewery, which we're grateful for. Yeah.
I think there's a slight difference between someone sending you a product for review and working with companies and getting paid to produce content for them. I think there's a slight difference, but you should declare it either way. I think if you're being paid for it and there is a commercial aspect to it, beyond the trading of goods, then you should absolutely be 100% upfront with it and market it as advertising, basically.
Yeah.
So there's a slight difference. Sometimes if you're being paid for it, then it's advertising. If you're not being paid for it, then it's just product review and you've been given a free sample of it. But be clear either way, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, strap yourselves in, folks.
All right, I'm sitting back.
Just because I've got... there's a few things I want to make clear as well in terms of what we do here and the podcast. So firstly, I think the first thing I want to say is that in terms of... Because some of what people have been saying in the past week is in terms of some of the sites, ourselves included, that carry discount codes for suppliers and the kickbacks that they might get from that. I want to say right now that the 5... online suppliers that we work with to provide discount codes for our listeners, we get nothing from those guys. We might get the odd beer from them, but we get no financial kickbacks. Those discounts are there purely for our listeners to be able to access great beer that we're either featuring on the show or that we're talking about what we've drunk at a slightly discounted rate. So that's the first point I want to make, and that's quite important to me because I don't want people to think that we promote those guys just so that they fill our pockets, sort of things, because we don't. Secondly, I think it's interesting because, like you said, Mark, we get sent a lot of beer. I get sent a lot of beer, but I'm also a fully paid up member of the British Guild of Beer Writers, and as a result of that, my details go into a handbook that gets sent to the PR companies and to all the breweries in the UK. So, and they go through that handbook to decide who they're going to send samples to. So we will get stuff, but it's very, very rare that we actually have those beers on as feature beers on the show, because normally we will choose a season beer list based on what we want to drink rather than what somebody wants to place on the show. But interestingly, the recent one I've got, and I know a few people have picked up on this, that the guys behind Kingfisher Beer got in touch with me and said, would you like to try our lager? And I very politely went back to them and said, actually, guys, it's not the sort of thing that we really cover on the show, but if you want to send me a couple of pictures, a couple of bottles, I'll maybe take a couple of pictures, put them on Instagram, comment about it, make it clear that you've been sent me. That they proceeded to send me 12 bottles of 660ml Kingfisher beer. Now, I'm not going to drink that much Kingfisher, and I'm probably talking about it far too much, so this now feels like it's paid advertising almost for them. But that's just an example. And then I suppose the other thing that I want to say as well, and I told you I am quite passionate about this, because I don't want people to ever question our integrity as well, is that when we are either reviewing or talking about beers that we've been sent or we've been gifted, that's very, very different from, say, the likes of the Flavour of the Month shows that we do, because those shows are sponsored by Little Leeds Beer House, who give us the beer to feature on that show in return for us mentioning their shop. And I think that's, again, completely different, because, again, we're getting no kickbacks from that other than the beer that we're talking about. They get...
You're honest and upfront with that as well, though.
Yeah, and that's and that's for me, that's what it boils down to. I don't feel as though we, the Beer O'Clock Show, need to put a disclaimer note on our website, because I think the content that we produce is audio content that people listen to. So as long as we're clear on that particular show as to whether the beer has been gifted to us or not, I'm happy that ticks the box.
I'd agree.
Sorry, I've just killed it there. I'm going to step down off my soapbox. I'm going to sit in my chair. And I'm going to open a bottle of Kingfisher.
Available at all good bottle shops. Yeah. Or you can just go to Steve's place because he's giving it away.
Yeah. literally have given tons of it away, by the way.
Alrighty, any final comments on this lovely Summer Smiles on Fixed Wheel Brewery? Sarah, Bob?
I just think we picked a really good beer for a really nice day. It's perfect for a summer's day, and it's been really nice to drink it today.
Yeah.
Bob? Yeah. What Sarah said, that's usually my line. It tends to keep me safe and in Sarah's good books. So yeah, what Sarah said.
Very good. How about you, Stevie?
I'm going to agree. Apart from with the it keeps me in the good books because of what Sarah said.
Well, you never know.
4.8%, really drinkable beer. You could drink it all day long in a beer garden in hot weather. It's absolutely perfect, and it's a great choice, guys. Thank you so much for sorting it out and sending it to us as well.
It's our pleasure. We just wanted to show that there's some really good beer being made here in the Midlands. If anybody wants to, if you contact Scott, if you want to know a bit more, I don't think it's available online yet. I think he's hoping to get it online soon. But if you contact Scott, he's an absolutely fantastic guy. I mean, when we went to actually collect the beer, he's going to be a box on the table. I had to somehow carry that on the bus back to the house. But yeah, he's a super nice guy. And if you've got any questions or want to know anything more about the brewery, then he'd be more than happy to talk to you, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Full disclosure there, then possibly.
Yeah.
We should just say
that's
that.
Just generally because he's just a nice guy.
And a big thank you to Scott at Fixed Wheel for sending.
Yeah. Cheers, Scott. Mark, what about you? Any final views on the beer, mate?
What's Sarah said? No, it's lovely. It's not too gassy, which you get with some wheat beers. So it's not too filling. The malt bill is just right. It's such a lovely light beer with that nice IPA-ish bitterness on the end. It's just cracking. It's a light enough beer, but that hop bitterness on the end just gives it a little bit of character. Yeah. Makes you feel like you're drinking something worthwhile, and you could do this by the pint after pint.
Easily. Smashable.
You could
smashable indeed.
Absolutely smashable. Right. Steve.
Yes.
you're not voting for yourself again for Instagram of the week.
No,
are
but
you?
it was a bloody good picture again that could have won it.
It
I've
was
got
a
to
good one.
Go on. Who won this week.
Yes, he's back. The master is back. I'm giving this week to Son of a Gun. For what was a really great picture of a row of Northern Monk cans lined up. Really brought the best out of the Northern Monk artwork, which I absolutely love, and I think looks so great on the cans. It fucked around with the rest of it, but the cans were as they should be. So this week, the big box of nothing is going all the way back to Ireland again to Son of a Gun.
Very good. Many thanks to Ales by Mail, Beautiful Beers, Beer Merchants, eBreer and Hot Bones of Black, who all now offer a 10% discount to Beer O'Clock Show listeners on any beers on the website. Just go to our website, check the Season 10 beer list, scroll to the bottom and get your discount codes there. Now, Sarah and Bob, where can people find you online, guys?
You can find me at S_Maxfield on Twitter.
And I'm on Bob Maxfield, at Bob Maxfield on Twitter, and also at Midlands Beer BC for the blog on Twitter, and Midlands Beer Blog on Instagram and on Facebook.
Very good. Stevie, what's...
I was just going to say there'll be a link to the Midlands Beer Blog in tonight's show notes as well, so I would encourage people to go and check it out as well, because it's a great read.
Thank you.
Didi, what's coming up next week, Steve?
Next week, after resting him for a season, the Chatterbox lovable rogue, King of Essex, is back. Justin Mason will be joining us for the last time, mate, for the last time, as we feature, and I'm going to get crucified for my pronunciation. I don't give a shit at this stage. Boon Goose Marriage Parfait. That's what I'm going with.
That does me. That's how I pronounce it.
Okay, there we go.
I so wish I'd picked a beer that you couldn't pronounce.
I'm sure Justin will correct us on next week's show if that was wrong.
Mariage parfait. Right. You can find us online at beeroclockshow.co.uk, and we're on Twitter at beeroclockshow. We're on Instagram at beeroclockshow. Steve is on Untapped at beershowsteve. I'm on Untapped at beershowmark, and I'm on Twitter at beershowmark. Sarah, Bob, thank you very much for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
And
Cheers.
Steve, until next week, pal.
It's been the highlight of my week.
And mine. Bye-bye.